The Authors Forum exists to inspire success. We will talk with authors and others in the publishing industry to bring you essentials and advice. Dr. Veronica Esagui is your host for Authors Forum.
Welcome to the Authors Forum. I'm your host, Dr. Veronica Esagui. And my guest today is Bernadette Crepeau, author of the Brooklyn Leprechaun, Royal Spirits and Scottish Dragon, and Keep New England Wierd, a whole new series. Bernadette, welcome to the Authors Forum.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Tell me about your background. Where were you born and raised?
Oh, I was born in Brooklyn and raised in Brooklyn and left there when I was about 18.
What were you doing there?
Oh. Well, I started working when I was 12, and I've worked in bakeries. I was a hat check girl at the New York Coliseum. I was a waitress, whatever job I could get. I worked at Woolworths. It was fun.
What brought you to Oregon then?
Well, before Oregon, I've been to just about every state. I married a fellow in the Army, and I went from Brooklyn to never seeing a cow to Fort Benning, Georgia, and to the country in Pennsylvania. And I bring a lot of that experience into my books. You know, first finding my first cow patty, thinking it was a stepping stone and stepping in it with a pair of heels on, you know. So it's been a fun experience.
And is that what Impact is about?
No, Impact is just a little booklet I put together for when I was a child, I was homeless. And when I was a mom, my husband came back from Vietnam, and we had some struggles, and we winded up being homeless and with the children for about 8 months, living in a tent. And I learned a lot about some of the things I did wrong. And when I lost my business, I learned from that. So what I wanted to do, because the economy was so bad, I wanted to take little tidbits that I had learned of the mistakes I made and how I got past a lot of the challenges and put them in a booklet so that others may benefit from it. And that's the book that I just put together and I hand out, telling about how not to let the challenge of losing your business, losing your home,
what kind of business
impact
did you
your
have?
life. Well, I had been working in a career for 16 years, and I was laid off. And I thought, I was laid off when I was about 60. And I thought, okay, who's going to hire me at the age of 60? So I took my savings and I started my own business, which was getting leases for people who wanted to open their own businesses. And that lasted about a year and took most of my savings, and I lost that. But then I didn't know what to do. And that's when I started writing.
But you said that you were homeless twice.
Yes.
You were homeless growing up and homeless after we got married.
Yes.
What was the difference between the two?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't see it as being anything unusual. You know, I didn't, we lived in tenement rooms. And
how old were you?
First grade.
First
so
grade,
I was
okay.
just past the first grade, so I was probably about 7 or 8. And we slept on friends' floors, and we slept in vacant buildings and whatnot. My father my father and mother were immigrants, and they worked very, very hard, but they had very little education. And my father and mother saved enough to open a bar and grill in Brooklyn. Wow. And it was very popular. It was kitty corner across from a police bureau, and very popular. And I remember many, many times in there, crowds of people, a lot of crowds, people having a lot of fun. But somehow, and I never knew why, my father lost the business. And they put us out in the street and took all our possessions. And but that was just the way it was.
The way it was, yeah.
But when I had my own children, it was devastating that my husband was offered a job in Vermont. And when we got there, there was no job. And we had no money. And so we put up a tent, lived in a tent until we both could find work.
And you had children at the time?
Yes, 2 little girls.
How old?
They were 2 and 4,
Wow.
I believe.
That must have been very challenging.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
It makes you a good writer for impact. Okay, we all have that kind of impact sometimes in our lives from one way or another. So that is so would you say that's an inspirational kind of help book?
It's a helpful book, and I believe that the main lesson in it is my biggest fear was not having enough money and not having a place to live. And in that book, I emphasize the fact that the family is more important than the money, because you can really make do with so much less. And the family and being together is more important. I started working 3 jobs and putting my kids in daycare and whatnot, and I look back now, I wish I never did that.
Well,
That's
things that we learn, right?
Oh, yes.
So book 1, The Brooklyn Leprechaun,
Yes.
You take your readers to Ireland
Yes.
with all its myths. You gather them on the second book, you get them to the royal spirits, you visit them, you take them with you to England.
Yes.
And then in book 3, The Scottish Dragon.
Actually, it's magical Scotland.
Oh, magical Scotland.
But Scottish Dragon sounds
Okay,
wonderful.
okay.
I'll have to do that one next.
Magical Scotland. Let's make sure we got this. Okay. The first one is the Brooklyn Leprechaun.
Yes.
The second one is magical.
Oh, no, the second one is Royal Spirits.
Royal Spirits. Okay.
And the third one's
and the
magical.
third one is, and then not only did you do that, but then you went into a new series, which is just starting, which is Keep New England Weird. I love it. What a mind you got for storytelling. Where did you get this for storytelling? I mean, because there's a lot of storytelling in there.
Well, what's funny is that I used to tell stories when I was little, and I just love telling stories. And I've never learned to be a professional writer, but I love to tell stories to make people happy and to give them an hour or 2 away from the daily life, you know, and I try to make them uplifting and whatnot. So when I first went to Ireland, I met all my relatives that I never knew I had, and they were characters. They would tell stories about Grace O'Malley, who used to live down the road, the Pirate Queen, and they, you know, my cousin would be telling me these stories, and his wife would hit him in the side and say, "Oh, that's not the truth of it." And he said, "Don't be ruining a good story with the truth." You know, it was wonderful.
Right there.
Well, they were fabulous stories, and I thought I'd put them in a book. But actually, when I started writing my first book, was after I lost my business, and my husband and daughters have health challenges, and I was too old to get a full-time job and couldn't figure out what to do. My Social Security check arrived, and I got a phone call that I was going to be a great-grandmother. Those 2 events hit me for a loop. It was like, I got to live on this, and look how old I am. And what am I going to do? So I laid awake at night worrying, what am I going to do with my life? Worrying about everything. And then I started praying and asking for, please, give me some guidance. What can I do? I mean, I've been working since the age of 12. I'm not used to not working. And then I started getting this song in my head over and over and over again. Finally, I figured out that the song was, if you don't have a dream, how are you going to have a dream come true? And my dream when I was a child was to see something I wrote on the big screen, that I would have a movie out there. And I thought, well, number one, I'm grammatically challenged. I'm nearly not a writer, but let's try it. And I started writing, and I got the first book, Brooklyn, done. And I went to the grandkids, who were the experts, and I said, okay, this is the story, and what do you think it needs? Well, I was told it needed a bad guy, it needed a leprechaun, it needed a talking dog, it needed all the kids had something to say. Mm-hmm. So it talks about family and importance of our ancestors and how much they mean to us and how much they've given us. And then, because of my grandkids, we have leprechauns and mystery and magic and fairies. Wow. And so I wove it all together. So it turned out to be a lot of fun. And then I took all 3 stories and put it into a screenplay.
Brooklyn Leprechaun, the movie.
Yep. And the screenplay, I made it to, I won 3rd place in a contest. And
what was the name of the contest?
The Blue Cat Screenwriting Contest.
Blue Cat, okay. Excellent.
And I'm going to be submitting it to others. I think, my dream is to have J.J. Abrams take a look at my screenplay and just put it up there.
Say that again. Say his name.
J.J. Abrams.
We'll call you.
That's it. And say, I want that script. That's it.
This is it. We got it. And she's got it already printed and perfectly bounded and ready to go.
I put that in that format for the grandkids to have. And but I have a professional script ready.
So what's the Brooklyn Leprechaun about?
Well, a young girl who's living on her own in Brooklyn inherits land in Ireland. And when she goes there, she finds she hasn't had family for a long time. And she meets family, except they're her ancestors who have been deceased for many, many, many years. And they turn out to be the queen of the Fae and the king of the leprechauns. And they need her help. So that's why she goes to Ireland, and she has to help them out.
And her name is?
Bridget.
Bridget.
Yes.
Does part of her character is you?
Well, the part that has to learn that she can do anything is me.
It's you? Okay.
Yep. And I hope that it's inspirational to others, that she struggles. She's totally unaware that she's capable of doing anything. And then she realizes, hey, I can.
You can do.
I can do it.
Exactly. So, and that is a series, because after that you have Royal Spirits, which I believe I have it here.
Yep.
Yes. Royal Spirits, and then we have Magical Scotland.
Yes.
Notice I said it correctly now. Magical Scotland. And so what would be the difference between those two?
Well, in Brooklyn, she's in Ireland, and then she finds that she has a cousin in England. So she goes over to England, and in the meantime, while she's in England, the queen's dogs, which she calls doggies, are kidnapped or dog-napped, and a lady that she meets is falsely accused. And so she helps her out. And then her cousin tells her he has a problem for her to solve. The St. Paul's Cathedral is about to be bombed, and he needs her help.
So Bridget is a detective in many ways.
She's a little bit of everything, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then in Scotland, she winds up going back to Scotland with all the knowledge now of what she needs to do to help her family. And she has to have an all-out war with Morrigan. And Morrigan is the goddess of war, so she has to take her on, and she wins the day, she wins the day, yep.
Were you here?
Actually, I didn't make it all the way to Scotland.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But
you got it in your blood.
Oh, I do.
Enough to write about it.
Yes, for sure.
Are you going to go there someday?
Well, I hope to, especially the island of Iona.
Why is that?
I started typing the story, and all of a sudden I was typing Iona. I didn't know what it was, and I looked it up, and it is the most magical place in the world. They called it the place closest to Ireland, to heaven, and many kings have been asked to be buried there. It's a very magical spot in Scotland. No traffic allowed, just you get off the boat and there it is. And it has beautiful abbey. It's where the monks that wrote the Book of Kells, where they landed when they left Ireland.
So we all have to go there.
It sounds like I've got to go.
We got to go there. We got to go there. We'll get a tour.
It's on my bucket list.
Okay, that's good. So I read chapter 1. Always I read the first page on any book, and that's what grabs me to keep on going or not. Okay? So in Royal Spirits, would you like to read the first page, Meet the Spirit? I just love it. It just gets you all started on it.
Crack on, mate. Get a bloody move on. Shut those yappers up we don't have all day. Shut it. They'll be quiet as the grave soon enough. My heart beats fast and loud. My palms sweat. I can hear the men arguing, all the more frightening for the anger and evil in their quiet whispers.